All right, welcome to another Friday night of Keto Rocks Radio. This is our last episode for 2022, and I'm Jim Hobbs, and to my left or right is my carnivore co-host Brian Damage Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket, and then returning back is one of the fan favorites, Mr. Steve Captain Carnivore Conover, who is daunting a burgundy and gold hoodie. It
I
looks like.
am.
So go Washington. So anyway,
Well,
welcome back, brother.
it's good to be here. It doesn't have any logos on it because I refuse.
There you go.
And
Perfect.
and
Perfect.
and until the one who will be remain nameless is gone.
Yes, I think probably those in Skin Nation feel your sentiments and are right there with you. Anyway,
Yep.
before we get back to you, Brian, you had quite the exciting Christmas weekend getaway. It's almost like one of those National Lampoons or what's the other one? Jim Candy or whatever with Steve Martin.
John Candy.
John Candy, that's it. Thanks. I was thinking about John Candy and Steve Martin and the what was that one?
Oh, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes, that's the kind of weekend I felt like you experienced. So I know you were supposed to be leaving Nashville and going to Minneapolis. And then I saw some of your posts, and I guess you and Shannon made it there, but your luggage did not. You want to kind of fill everybody in, like what happened and share this experience?
Yeah, we were lucky though. I mean, there's some people that are still stranded, but yeah, we took a direct flight up there thinking, a direct flight that's safe. But that Thursday is when the weather hit here in Nashville, and that's when flights started getting weird. And we thought, well, by Saturday it should be straightened out. We'll be good. And our flight didn't get canceled, so we flew up like regular. We got down there, checked our bags, got on the flight, went up there, and I Shannon went to get the car, and I went to get the bags off the baggage claim. And I'm standing there, and all the suitcases are coming out, and all of a sudden you hear the thing just go and stop. And my bag never came out, and there was like about 15 other people standing around waiting, and I'm like, oh man. So we had to go over to the little office, and the baggage, the lady in there, she looked it up, and apparently it was still in Nashville. It never made it on the plane, which was weird because our flight was way delayed getting out of there, and then they switched our gate twice. So that might have had something to do with it. But after we got on the plane, we sat there for, I don't know, it was probably at least 45 minutes waiting on other flights to get in so people could make their connection. And we're thinking, it's like they had plenty of time to load the luggage. So I don't know what happened. But long story short, we didn't get our luggage. And then the day it was supposed to come in the next day. That flight there's only one direct flight from Nashville to Minneapolis. That flight got canceled. So we didn't have our bags the second day. And then the third day we were coming home, and I'm like, oh man, now, I was worried that we're going to be flying home while our bags are flying up there. And at the last minute, that flight got canceled, which was, well, actually, first our flight got canceled. It started getting delayed, and then canceled. And I kept looking at the flight where our luggage was going to be on, and it was like on time. And I'm like, oh man. And so we didn't want to sit around another day because I have a cat here. and so we just decided to make a run for it and drive home. We just took the rent-a-car and took off. And about an hour or so into the drive, all of a sudden that flight that was supposed to have our luggage on it got canceled. I'm like,
So that worked in your favor.
Yeah. So we made the 12-hour drive back and got back to the Nashville airport at like 3 a.m. Went in there and there was like a sea of suitcases in there. And luckily it was 3 a.m. There was nobody around. So it was nice and calm. There was only a few little, workers over there in the baggage claim area. But there was thousands and thousands of suitcases. And we just sort of walked around and checked it out, and Shannon found our suitcases. She goes, here they are, I found them. And so we pulled them out, and the guy that was there, he checked our tags and made sure it was right, and we took off and had our stuff. So we made it home, we got our luggage, and so in the end everything worked out.
So let me ask you this question. I know people are thinking this. So you guys were there for 3 days. Did you guys go out and buy some new clothes, or did you just stay in the same clothes for 3 days?
Same socks, same everything. And you know what the bad part was? Shannon's coat was in her suitcase. She
Oh
didn't have a
no.
coat, and it was like freezing cold
Did
there.
you have your leather one with you? Were you wearing that one?
No, I had my winter coat. I mean, she had a sweater and stuff, but so we just made sure we parked close, or I'd drop her off and then I'd park the car, and
Wait a minute. You dropped off the person without the coat?
well, dropped her off at the front door of the
Okay.
hotel.
Okay.
But her mother, when we went over there to meet with her family, her mother brought her an extra coat that she had. So she had a coat eventually. But
Wow. So
I mean, I offered her my coat, but she wouldn't
okay.
take it.
All right. Well, I mean, that's very gentlemanlike. But I mean, the
Just
bottom
so I
line
don't,
is,
just so I don't sound like a total jerk.
no, no. Well, it sounds like to me you guys had quite the 3-day event, 3-day adventure that at least got you guys back home safely, even though you had to drive yourself. Now, did they give you a refund on your return flight ticket, I hope? And
They better.
yeah, I was gonna say yes, they should.
And
Go ahead.
and we kept all the receipts. We're going to get them to pay for the car too.
Yeah, well, they should. I mean, very
Yeah.
least they should, because. But listen, you guys. At least you and your luggage got reunited. There's hundreds and hundreds of people, probably thousands of people across the country right now, who are stranded and have not been reunited with their luggage. So it's definitely been a 2022 ending that that not anybody wanted to go through. But glad you and Shannon made it back safely. Now, did you just mail the cookies and stuff out, the gifts?
Yeah, that's what I did yesterday. It was like catch up day. So I had to get some boxes and pack the cookies and send all that out. And yeah, the one thing I was worried about was not getting my suitcase back, because I'm leaving in a few days to go to Europe for a month. So it was like, I need my stuff, like all my yeah, that would have been terrible.
Yeah, I saw Brad Divott's post that he was heading to Dubai and his little cubby hole he has. I'm like, man,
I saw that.
I hope he's got enough room to have his luggage like right beside him, so he knows his luggage is heading to Dubai too. But that's quite the. Is that how you're going to be traveling to Europe, Brian? In that type of setup?
Nope.
You're gonna be like a sardine can
between two people stuck in like a row of like 5 across. No, actually, I picked my seat, so I'm a window. but still, yeah, it's gonna be regular.
Well, quite
regular rhino bucket.
So Captain Carnivore, Mr. Con over there, how was your Christmas? Did you have anything that can rival that experience?
I think I do.
Okay.
I had COVID for the third time in 2.5 years.
Oh,
third? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know which flavor I got this time, but whatever. But this one kind of hung around to all of Christmas and reared its ugly head again a few days ago with just a fever and feeling like crap. So I've been just kind of bowed up here in my room with my dog and trying to stay out of trouble. And so that's what I've been doing over the holidays. We did have, of course, the kids enjoyed opening presents and all that stuff. And they're finally getting old enough where they didn't completely lose their minds this year. So that was cool.
Well, that's good.
And just, and the downside of, or the upside of being quarantined is you get caught up on a lot of your menial tasks that you were putting off, and getting caught up on social media and caught up on emails and all that kind of stuff. And just, also a lot of meditative, reflective time, which on the carnivore side of things, I've been watching a lot of stuff, of course, that Brian's been posting, and you and others, and Dr. Baker and Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Cho. And it seems, just in reflecting on the whole last year, I don't know if you have the same perspective, guys, but it appears to me that I don't know if we can say we've hit a tipping point, but people aren't treating me like a pariah anymore. Like, it's like everybody's kind of heard of the idea, at least. They're familiar with low carb, high fat. They're familiar with keto as a buzzword, and it appears that people, because there's so many medical professionals now on the bandwagon, it appears that people are at least willing to give it a try. I think that's why Dr. Baker is doing the whole World Carnivore Month in January. So we're having a reboot of No Carb November and calling it World Carnivore Month.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't think Brian has. I was say Brian hasn't stopped. He's just.
Yeah, I extended it to December. I'm still going.
Yay.
Well, I know you posted something earlier there, Steve, about the biggest conspiracy theory is believing the government, big pharma, and big food actually care about your health. And those statistics that you posted, just so people know, and if you want to find Steve, he's not hard to find. Just go on Facebook, put in Steve Captain Carnivore Conover. But he posted this thread that said obesity kills 2.8 million people per year. Heart disease kills 17.9 million per year. And diabetes kills 1.5 million per year. And the statement after this really tells you where they really stand on this, because if the government really cared about your health, they would have banned fast food, refined sugars, and industrialized seed oils a long time ago, but they haven't, and they still don't today. That's all you need to know about how much they care about you versus how much they care about profits. But you said something, Steve, that I believe in, and Brian probably can seize this as well. I'm noticing more and more people in other genres and other creators and other YouTube channels and other venues who are beginning to wake up to the fact that, wait a minute, why do we give our power away to big pharma and the government and healthcare? Like, what is it really getting us? And I'm hearing more and more people talk about it that's not even in the keto carnivore world, who are finally connecting the dots to go, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. And so you're seeing more and more people awaken to the point that there's more cancer now than there ever was. There's more obesity now than there ever was. So why should we follow what you're telling us to eat as our daily nutritional diet, when that daily nutritional diet is bringing the results that everybody can see? And you're seeing more and more people, like there are so many that I got a chance to read over the holiday season or this week, people who were on like 27 different drugs, and who were 400 and some pounds, and they finally had given up and finally said, what do I have to lose? I'm going to try this carnivore keto lifestyle. And it was amazing how much weight they dropped off. This one lady, which hopefully we can get her on the show, she's lost down to I think she's 200 and some pounds now. She's lost half of herself. She is off all 27 medications, and she's never felt better or more positive about her future. And she's been under doctor care for her life. And that's what led her to the 400 and some pounds. And I see so many people who we care about, who I see, who are fighting different diseases and cancer and all that. And it really boils down to, can you break away from that white substance known as sugar? Because that's what feeds the cancer. That's what in these seed oils causes the inflammation. And all this processed food we seem to be sold to through TV, radio, and as a country, or even our own government, who tells us that study that Brian brought up, the White House nutritional guidelines, when they're recommending cereal by name,
Yep.
it makes no sense. So it is refreshing, and I think we are at that tipping point where people are beginning to go, you know what? I'm going to do what these guys are doing, who have no degrees, who do not have MD in front of their names, but appear to be full of energy and healthy. And I think that people are believing what they are witnessing, and they're believing what they are experiencing once they start to follow these people who they decide to listen to. So I don't know.
Well, I think
What's your
that
thoughts?
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think the thought form. So you have to kind of peel this back a little bit. So for the last 5 years, actually 7 now, I've been doing keto and carnivore, and I've it used to be when I would say, I've lost this weight, my blood work, all this stuff, or talk about another person that I've encouraged to join us, and they're no longer type 2 diabetics and off all the medications, all these stories. And the immediate response used to be like an automatic response from the big pharma, big food, big government thought form, which is wholly owned by big pharma and big food. I mean, mainstream media, government, and everything is wholly owned by that syndicate. And the response was, but there's, show me the study, show me the peer-reviewed study where eating carnivore caused this person to go off these medications. And you would be like, why?
Right.
Isn't it enough that they were following a doctor's advice and becoming more obese, becoming more hypertensive, adding medication after medication after medication? Why isn't it enough that they just started eating red meat and animal fat and water and salt, and in a really short period of time reversed all that stuff?
Right.
Right. So that's the thought form that has been like we've Western culture has been in the grips of this thought form for 50 years. And what I'm seeing is the thought form is crumbling, because now people, thanks to all the doctors that are on board with us, but even more than that, there are so many stories out there. I mean, you just go on Instagram and search carnivore, and I mean, it's endless. You could scroll for days. Just
Yeah.
regular everyday people saying, I started my journey on this date and here's all the stuff that's happened. And at some point, the tipping point, is almost like that little hammer that you hit a certain spot on a window and the whole window fragments and collapses. It seems like that's what's happened.
Right.
And you realize, wow, you know why there's no study, Brian? You know why there's no study that shows the benefits of a carnivore diet? Because nobody will pay for one.
Right.
It's not because there have been studies. Now, the lackeys like Harvard will do a quote unquote low carb diet, which still includes 75 grams of carbohydrates a day.
Right.
And come up with this story about how a low carb diet didn't really benefit that much more compared to the SAD diet. Well, once you look at what they were calling a low carb diet, you see what the problem was. So I think what's getting ready to happen is, so Dr. Sean Baker and his Rivero group are in the process of getting funding.
Yeah, I contributed to that.
Yeah, and they are going to do a peer-reviewed study of actual carnivore control group compared to a non-carnivore control group. So you can do strict carnivore versus what people consider a low carb diet, probably under 100 grams of carbs a day versus a full-blown standard American diet. And when that finally gets done, we're probably still several years away, but I think when that gets done, that's going to be the collapse of the whole deal. I mean, they won't be able to hide it anymore because it'll be fully peer-reviewed scientific evidence that shows that there's a reason why for millions of years the Homo species in various different forms have thrived on ruminant animal fat and meat. Millions of years compared to the last 11,000 years of this plant eating experiment that has been done on us, that's ending really, really, really badly for a lot of people. I think that whole picture is about to get painted in a way that's going to be unavoidable and unarguable.
Well, I'm going to ask Brian this because one of the things that I think is important is when you finally you talk about thought form, Steve's, but it's being able to have a replacing that unhealthy thought form that's been programmed in you from many sources, and finally being able to replace that with a healthy thought form or healthy habit. And Brian, you said you've continued on with no carb November through December and probably January as well. Although, you were in a stressful situation this weekend coming back, having to do what you did. I can just tell you what I would have done, the old Jim would have done in that situation. It'd have been justification to pull off and to have junk food in the car. Stop by. I've earned it. I'm stressed. This is, it would, that thought form would have said, hey, you need to reward yourself. And the reality of it is I would not have been rewarding myself. But I want to ask you, did any of those old habits of like grabbing sodas or anything come back to you?
Not at like junk stops, no. We stopped at this one place and I was walking around though. I was just circling the place. I was going to get some coffee or something, and they didn't have in the coolers. They didn't have any that didn't have sweeteners. So then I walk over to like where the hot coffee, and I'm like thinking, I don't really feel like it. So I just grabbed. Oh, I don't even know if we grabbed any water at that point. I think we already had water, but that's not as hard for me anymore to. Like, I don't really have a plan to get anything when I go in there. I did look at the pork rinds for a second, but I was like, nah. But yeah, it's I guess the stress thing, it doesn't like manifest in food as much anymore like it used to.
Well, I'm saying that because I noticed for myself, like Christmas and holidays in general, they got together with family, especially our daughter Val. She loves to make cookies and get cookies and crumble cookies, and they look delicious. Um, but there's not even a little bit of me anymore that's tempted to do that. I just look at it and I'm like, man, I can't believe I used to put that poison in my body. That's how I literally look at it anymore. I just like, man, and I can tell you the last few years, it's so nice because this would not have been the results from holidays gone by in the past, where I would say, you know what? It's the holidays. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, if I decide to have snack on some food, it's okay, not the end of the world. And it's not. However, I'm not enticed by it at all anymore. I'll look at it for what it is and I'll go, man, I can't believe I used to be addicted to that. I could eat a ton of those. But now it just makes me sick thinking about eating a ton of those. And so, it's so amazing that, and I ate a lot of food this weekend, but I lost weight because of the food that I did decide to put in my body. It was all carnivore. I did a little dirty keto. We made some pecan bars because pecan pie was such a part of my holiday. Peggy made some keto-friendly pecan bars. But I lost weight, lost 2 ounces. I stayed on track. Feel great, never got sick or bloated. And it's so refreshing because I can remember times in the past how I'd be just feeling so lethargic and so stuffed and didn't feel like doing anything. And yet now I feel like let's go do something. Like I'm not that, couch potato anymore that just wants to go, okay, I'm going to go lay down and take a nap for the rest of the day. Um, but it's but it's taken how many years to get to this point, to be able to to be able to face the temptation straight on and not look at it as a temptation anymore. I don't judge it. I just go, I'm not taking that anymore because I know it's not going to make me feel better. And to back to your question, Steve, Peggy sent me this retweet by Jan Ellison, who's a mother, who just posted this: is keto good for the brain? Our son was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at age 19. He's had 5 hospitalizations, 41 clinicians prescribed 29 meds, and after 5 years, he started a keto diet and his bipolar went into remission. 2 years later, he has 0 symptoms and is thriving. Hashtag keto for mental health. And Dr. Chris Palmer, I mean, he's got that book called Brain Energy. And anybody out there who's suffering from some mental issues, man, get that book into their hands, or watch some of the. I know he's been all over the YouTube world doing podcasts with a lot of people, but he truly is opening doctors' eyes, and also other people's eyes who are dealing with mental issues, because we always say all the time, food is fuel. Look at it that way, but it's much more powerful than that. It's actually going to direct how you're going to think, how you're going to process stuff. And so, like Dr. Joan Iflin says, if you're an addict, it's not your fault. They've programmed you to be an addict. So don't beat yourself about it. You should, if you're pointing fingers at anybody, point at the people who are programming you, because they're the ones you put your trust in. So it's just, you see so many people now breaking free, that's had mental issues. I mean, we talk about diabetes all the time, but now people with mental issues are reversing those issues. They've been diagnosed for their life, and they're going away because they're living a keto or carnivore lifestyle. Brian, what kind of videos? Oh, good, Steve. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and what you're highlighting, though, I mean, I have 3 little ones that live in my house that have emotional issues, and I see it in their diet all the time, but they're still young enough where we're having to pick other battles at this point. But what it highlights is something that I've coined a phrase. I have an umbrella term, because one of the hard things is there's so much to talk about in regards to symptoms, whether it's physical or emotional health, that I coined a phrase that's fatty acid deficiency syndrome. That's the overall umbrella about what we're talking about. Is and in that image that I posted, that all the trajectory of emotional disorders and physical disorders matches the trajectory of the consumption of seed oils, vegetable and seed oils, and specifically, there's a word I'm looking for, the carbohydrates that are the really bad ones. But anyway, refined carbohydrates. If you look at the trajectory of refined carbohydrates and seed oils and vegetable oils in our diet versus the decline in the consumption of animal fat and protein, that's the image that perfectly describes what I call fatty acid deficiency syndrome. Because the fact is, the first organ in the human body, in the fetus, that starts producing stuff for our body is the thyroid hormone. It's the first hormone produced, and it's the master hormone in our body. Well, without cholesterol and iodine, guess what can't happen?
Right.
The thyroid can't produce the master hormone in your body. So that's the key. And that's why Dr. Bright is having so much success with especially menopausal women. That the master key to what we're talking about is fat. I may even start calling myself a fativore. Because yesterday I did meal prep for my dogs. Yes, I meal prep for my dogs, and I cooked a bunch of hamburger and chicken for them. But I get chicken thighs with the skin, because it's the fattiest part of the chicken. And I bake them. And when I pull the crispy skin off of them, I stack them up. And yesterday, that's all I ate was about 12 crispy, fatty chicken skins. And I felt amazing. I mean, wasn't hungry, wasn't craving, and my body was literally, you could feel it running on all cylinders. And I think moving forward, I think fat needs to become a bigger part of our conversation, because people, a lot of people get lost into how much protein do I need and that whole thing. But the key that drives the whole thing is getting enough dietary saturated fat. And that's the thing that once you get people, because when you bring the subject up with people, they literally make a face at you like, what do you mean you eat a stick of butter every day? I'm like, I eat a stick of butter. Like yesterday, all I ate was butter and chicken skin all day long. And the human body, if you give it enough fat and you give it just a little iodine, doesn't take much, but get Ludols or a good form of an iodine supplement, because it's not in our diets anymore. And watch what happens. I was watching a really good Instagram reel of a vegan who was literally about to die. She was literally about to die of malnourishment and had all these autoimmune issues. And I mean, she literally looked horrible. And she said that she finally just gave up and had her boyfriend make her a ribeye. And she wasn't even done the ribeye yet. And she said it was like her brain turned on. Mm-hmm. Like she could literally feel the primal version of her in her brain kind of turning back on and going, we're back. And that's, that's, so from, I'm really going to be hitting the fat thing hard now, because I think we're ready for it. But, how many years growing up did you hear somebody say, I don't want to eat their meat's all fatty?
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah, that's fatty, or that's greasy. You're going to eat that? That's nothing but grease. And I'm like, heck yeah. Well, is that we need, once people get over that and that thought form that's been literally shoved down our throat for 50 years, because the truth is the opposite. The truth is that is the key to life. The cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, is the building block of every hormone in your body, not just thyroid, right? Every hormone. And without it, you cannot survive, which is why all these vegans look the way they do, because their endocrine system doesn't have anything to work with.
Well, I tell you what, the other thing that I learned, and I learned that for Brian with that book he turned me on to about a year and a half ago about iodine, was just how many Americans, which is the majority of them, have iodine deficiency. And that manifests itself through, different ways. And so, if someone's got a low heart rate, or they feel fatigued or weak or dizzy, or possibly to the point where they feel like they're going to faint, it very well could be something as simple as you just don't have enough iodine in your body. And that's why it's important that people go out there and learn what they really need, as opposed to what they're being told they need, because that chasm is wide, and it's wide for a reason, and it isn't to make you better. It's to give you opportunity to learn from it. All right, it's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Schenker of the Meat Tribe. So you had great deals for us last week going into Christmas. What do you got for us going into New Year's, Brian?
Got some pretty good stuff. Food Lion, their deals actually, so all the deals run through January 3rd, except for the last one. But Food Lion, they've got some choice grade boneless New York strips for $7.99 a pound, and some choice grade chuck roast for $5.99 a pound. Aldi has some Kirkwood ground turkey for $2.49 a pound. That's a pretty good price. Usually ground turkey's more expensive than ground beef. So $2.49 is not too bad. Harris Teeter, our favorite. So we got some ranch grade boneless New York strip steak in the value pack for $7.99. We've got the small pack for $8.49, and we've got the choice grade boneless New York strips for $8.99. They still have both frozen and fresh turkeys on sale for 99 cents a pound. And looks like they got some leftover rib roasts. They've got their ranch grade bone-in rib roasts or steaks for $6.99, or choice grade bone-in rib roasts or steaks for $7.99. So $7.99 for those choice grade ones. That is a really good price.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. And then Brian, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was going to say that turkey is going to have to be, they're going to be given away for me to go buy one more turkey. I seriously, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Anyway, what do you got for Brian?
All right, so Brian down at Kroger, I know he doesn't need them, but they've got some boneless New York strips down there for $7.99 per pound, and then some choice grade chuck roast for $5.99 per pound. And then the last deal, which runs through January 4th, over at Giant Eagle, they've got some certified Angus beef, eye of round roast or value pack steaks for $4.99 a pound. I believe Dennis, our meatologist, makes his beef jerky with eye of round roast, if I'm not mistaken. So if you guys are looking into drying out some meat and making your own homemade beef jerky, the eye of round roasts are on sale. And that's all I've got for you guys this week.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, the fact that the rib eyes are still for sale from our place, that's all I needed to hear. That's great value there. And I think you're right about the eye of round. I think that is what our meteorologist makes his beef jerky with. And by the way, his beef jerky is good, as we all know.
Yeah, it was really good.
So, well, anyway, we appreciate you delivering those meat deals going into the new year. So happy New Year to you, and we'll see you next Friday night.
Sounds good. Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, you too.
Yeah.
I know, Brian, you were posting something with Dr. Ken Berry earlier today or last night, I forget which. What do you remember what that was?
I post so many things. Which I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but
It was.
Well, hey Jim, I was today years old when I learned this one, and this, we all do this every day, right? We all consume this information. I was today years old when I learned this. You know that vitamin D3 is the only vitamin that humans can make, and you know what it takes for a human to make vitamin D3, and it's a critical vitamin for humans.
Meat.
No,
fat.
well,
Fat.
sunlight, cholesterol, and iodine. That's your fatty acid deficiency syndrome. Specifically, the one ingredient, the one vitamin that humans can synthesize, and we're being told sunlight is bad and cholesterol is bad, and we have no iodine in our diet. I mean, you can blame whoever you want to blame, but that's a fact.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely correct, and that's why people need to not believe everything they're being told from the establishment, but to research it and follow people who may give a difference of opinion, and literally follow them and look more into how they came to that opinion. But question everything, right, Brian? Question everything.
Yeah, I mean that's what I find is like with all the people that I talk to or people that have questions about stuff, a lot of times they can see that it makes sense, but they're torn between like stuff that I'm telling them or sharing with them and what their doctors are telling them, and they don't know which way to go with it. Like they think they can still trust the doctor thing, and I'm no doctor, so I can't tell them not to listen to their doctor,
Right.
But I think that's where the problem is that, there's too much trust in that authority, and it's not really an authority anymore, you know?
Well, and guys, part of the thought form is, and when people say that to me, like my doctor's saying I shouldn't do that, and I just simply ask them, why would you take nutritional advice from a medical doctor?
Right.
Why? And their answer is always, well, why wouldn't I? And I said, well, they haven't had any training on nutrition. You didn't
Yeah.
know that? They're like, what do you mean? Like, they don't train medical doctors on nutrition. They sit through one class.
Yeah. But it's
So
all
why would you take it? Well, why would you take nutritional advice from somebody who knows nothing about nutrition?
but then the doctor comes back with the whole, fear mongering about the cholesterol and the LDL.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
I mean, I still see that on, I belong to a bunch of different Facebook groups, and the lean mass hyper responder group, which is, people with high LDL and
Mhm.
low triglycerides. But I mean, they got the healthy ratios and stuff, and they're still, they'll still go get their blood done and come back and post on there that they're freaking out because their doctor's telling them they're going to die because their LDL is above 100. It's like, what?
Right.
Like, why are you even on this group if you don't even know that much? It's weird. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the question is, first of all, why are you calling it bad cholesterol?
Yeah, right.
Send your doctor to listen to Bart K for a little while about cholesterol. Just go to YouTube, search Bart K and cholesterol, and then take a Valium because you're about to be mad. But the idea that there's any such thing as bad cholesterol is the problem. Your body
Yeah.
makes cholesterol for a reason. Every different cholesterol molecule your body makes, it makes for a reason. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. That's a myth. And like you said, there are certain ratios that some people need to watch. But the idea that there's such thing as bad cholesterol is a problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, because that's the first thing people ask me.
I know.
How's your cholesterol? I'm like, it's good.
Yeah, I say, well, my CAC score is 0. What's yours? And they go, well, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Like, well, you might ought to check that then. If you're worried about mine,
Right.
you don't even know what yours is, and you're worried about mine.
well, the problem is it's not a problem. It's just that people are just regurgitating what they've been programmed to think. They haven't experienced that. Most of the people who are on those statins, who are programmed, they're the ones propagating that fear in other people, like that page that Brian's talking about. People on there going, "Oh, well, my doctor says you'll die if you got to get that under control." And the reality of it is, there's no studies that back up any of that. That they're fear mongering with. They're just repeating that because a doctor told them to repeat that. The doctor told them. I mean, if I got freaked out every time the doctor told me back in the early days that I was going to die because of high blood pressure or cholesterol or whatever it was, I'd have been dead by now, a long time ago. I mean, I need to talk to I need to talk to Peggy for a second. He's not taking this serious. He's serious. 10% chance that he could have stroke out any moment now. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
It's
So they leverage your wife.
yes, that's how
It's like,
strong.
what I'm saying is not working, so let's scare her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
that was years and years ago, and it did freak her out a little bit. That's why I ended up going to John Hopkins in Baltimore and did a thorough physical with the best cardiologists and all that stuff, and did every test they could do for him to go, he's okay. He's got no damage at all. So, excuse the pun. But that's what they try to do. And those people who are on those threads, that's all they're saying. They're all regurgitating that. They haven't experienced that, because you're not going to experience that. You're going to experience the opposite of what you've been scared into believing. And that's when you're finally free from, you know what? And I don't blame them either. We've said this many times. I don't blame them. They went to school to become somebody that's going to help people get better, and they're programmed. And so they believe what they've been programmed with is going to make people better. it's not until people, you know, like Dr. Barry and other doctors who finally go, wait a minute, let me try this, or Dr. Chris Palmer, let me try this. And they start to see the overwhelming reversal of stuff that they've been taught cannot be reversed. I mean, diabetes, mental illness, all this stuff. And the crazy part of it, it's able to be reversed without any medication. Or if people on the mental side have mental illnesses, they realize that those medications can work even better. And in some cases, they won't even work if you're not following a keto carnivore lifestyle. So you're even defeating the purpose when you're following doctor's orders, but because they don't understand the coexisting of nutrition or how the two work in concert with one another, they don't understand why they're not getting the results like they expect to get. But you know, bottom line is, it always comes back to me treating food as fuel. It's nature's gift to us to be able to utilize for our goodness. And what we've done is we've gone out and basically man-made food and serving man-made food, which even my daughter, who claims to be a vegetarian, said it's frustrating when you go to the grocery store now in the meat section, because they really do try to trick you with the vegetarian meats, the plant protein, because they have it right mixed in with the regular meats. And sometimes they'll trick you. Even they're doing that with heavy whipping cream too now as well. Just so everybody
watch
knows.
the seed oils. Yeah,
Yeah.
the seed oils are everywhere now. But you know, I'm going to say something right now that's a little strong, but just like on the spiritual side, I don't care anymore. You know, one of the things that if you're watching this and you're a type 2 diabetic and you're still wrestling with the whole thing that, you know, my doctor says this, my doctor says that. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. I have dozens of people that I have coached to first the keto lifestyle and eventually the carnivore lifestyle. And I'll tell you, I'm batting 1,000 on reversing type 2 diabetes. There's not one person who has made the change, bought in, even if they've done it slowly, just started by reducing carbohydrates and increasing saturated fat. There is not one person over the last almost 8 years now that was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, told by their doctor that it was irreversible, that it wasn't reversed. Not one. And I would just simply ask you to ask your doctor how he's batting. I mean, that's strong. I get it. No, I'm not a doctor. You're right. I am not a doctor. But just like on the addiction side of things, on spirituality, where I'm also batting 1,000, and we're not going to talk about why that is, but that's another thing that doctors aren't happy about. But we have the tools. And if somebody does have autoimmune issues, if somebody does have type 2 diabetes, and many other stuff, Crohn's, lupus, IBS, there's a whole laundry list, coronary artery disease, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, bipolar, ADHD, and many others. If you'll just try it, you're looking at 3 guys here that aren't dead, that have been doing it for years and years now. We should be dead if you believe your doctor.
Yeah,
but we're the opposite of dead.
Yeah, I'm about ready to go devour a ribeye that's got butter on it. As soon as we hit the end button to stop this recording, I will be devouring a nice fatty ribeye.
Yeah. So if you want to yell at me, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to get started, I don't care. Either one. Go to Facebook, search for Captain Carnivore. Go to Instagram, search for Carnivore News Network. Send me a message. I'll actually talk to you.
There you go.
Do it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge there, Captain Carnivore. I'm going to ask Brian now. I know he's about ready after you just had a Christmas weekender. You're about ready to head off and experience Europe. So when does that whole experience begin for you, Brian?
Monday I leave.
So you're literally leaving the day after. Is New Year's on Sunday? So you're leaving the day after New Year's?
Second.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. I'm and I don't know what to expect. I've not been to Europe since I've been carnivore. I was pescatarian last time I was there. So it'll be fun to be in Germany where all the meat is. But
Yeah.
but on these kind of tours, a lot of times it's like I never know what I'm walking into as far as like the dinners and because the promoters will take you to dinner or they'll have the food for you there and stuff. So I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of fasting on this tour. But I bought a whole new box of my carnivore bars.
There you go.
Get me through. So
The lean times, awesome. Well, when you guys do sit down at a table, what will you tell those sitting around the table to do?
I'm going to tell them to eat your meat.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody. Brian, Steve, happy New Year's to you guys. May you
Happy
have
New
a
Year.
safe trip around Europe and devouring the meat you come across in Germany, Brian. And we'll look forward to seeing you back in February. Mr. Carnivore, I hope you go ahead and put COVID for the third time in the rear view mirror. And
Put it in bed.
there you go. And everybody else out there, stay safe, stay well, stay kind, and stay out of that hospital, everybody. We'll see you next year. Happy New Year, everybody. And happy birthday to Peggy before I forget. She's a New Year's baby.
Happy birthday, Peggy.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys.